Okay, so this video is going to be pretty short, and it's just going to be the front end of what was supposed to be our class from week 5. You can see this one's a little bit shorter because I forgot to press record. So it's about eases, using the graph editor to put in eases, and some things that happen when, both in terms of animation and just also like how things look when we do that. So I have two different fans on these layers. I have just one visible right now since there's no ease on it. And if we scroll back to the beginning of the timeline, press play, right, you can see it just starts right here. It just starts spinning and then it just stops, right? That's not how anything ever in the history of the world has functioned. If I turn on this one, you'll see something very different. Right? So if I put them both on at the same time, it's very obvious which one is working properly, and it's this one, and it's because it's speeding up and slowing down. And I can select both of these at the same time and go to my little 2 view right here, panel, graph editor. There we go. And we can see the difference. It's right there, right? One of them, just kidding. This one is just vump straight. So it's not doing anything at, up until frame 30 something, and then it starts moving and then it just stops moving. Technically speaking, the whole animation looks like this. So nothing, starts moving, stops moving, nothing. On this one, right, it speeds up here. So it starts slow. There it is. So it comes in doing nothing, and then it speeds up, and then it slows down. And one thing I asked in class for people to look at, I'm going to unshow curves here. I asked you to look at them and the animation that's going on in the middle and ask ourselves, how do these look different? We know one is speeding up and slowing down, and the other is just starting and stopping. But if we look at that animation right there in the middle around these frames, this one's moving faster. This is another key thing I wanted to talk about, was that when we add in things like eases, in order for it to go slower at the beginning and then to slow down at the end, it must necessarily go faster somewhere else because they're spinning the exact same amount over the exact same amount of time. We can stop that and we can look at the curve and we can see that this has a certain slope to it, right? That's the speed at which it's moving. The steeper the slope, the faster it's going. In order to flatten things here and here, it must necessarily go faster in the middle. All right, it's a zero-sum game unless you change the amount of frames it takes or the amount it is spinning. Then it's different. But if you need it to spin X number of times around, or X number of degrees, and you need it to take exactly this amount of time, it will necessarily have to get faster, right? And so that's one of the key things to realize what we're dealing with. And the more we make something go slower in a different part, the faster it will go later on. Just to review, in order to make these things just get like a basic ease, I just would select a keyframe and I went flatten. And okay, I did that for both of them. Right, so now they're the same. But then if I wanted to like really do a lot of slowdown and speed up, I can. If I'm careful, there we go. And I'm being careful to keep this parallel, mostly just so the front and back end of this are similar. They actually maybe shouldn't be. I mean, if you think about it, motor starting up versus slowing down, then they might not be identical. We're keeping it that way for now. And if I go to select the original one again, you can see it does have the curve to it, but it's substantially less steep in the middle. So if I look at these again, right, this one gets faster quicker, but then this one gets more faster overall. Does that make, sorry for my grammar. And if I extend this out even further, nope, wrong one. You can see the further I pull out either one of these, the steeper this one gets. And this is just key to remember, and it's why I'm always suggesting to people that you kind of just generally block it out. All right, keyframe here, let's see how it looks. Then just go right in here and, flatten those tangents just to give it a little bit of an ease in and ease out, and immediately you're going to see a change in the overall speed. It's going to feel faster because it does get faster in the middle. And then you can say, okay, well, I need more or less rotations, or I need it to take longer or take shorter amount of time. And then go in, figure out your tangents a little bit more. Do I want them to be a little bit steeper? Do I want it to take longer to slow down than it does to speed up? And actually, really, that's what should really be happening, is that it should speed up and then very slowly slow down. But if that's going to happen, I need a lot more frames. I may even need another keyframe to kind of like specify that curve a little bit better, but maybe not. At any rate, we need to keep that in mind. And so don't perfect your timing here if you have not dealt with your graph editor. Do not spend, all this time like working away at how many frames it's going to take and how many times it's going to spin around. If you got a marble rolling down the hill, it's going to change as soon as you add eases to it. And as soon as you add some other motion to it. These actually have, bring this back up here, these have the ability to rotate around. That's going to change how it looks. So we want to go back and forth between these things, because this affects how this looks, even in the middle where you're not technically thinking you're affecting it. And then this affects how this curve works. If I add more time, I have more time to have this slow down. And that's the only way to have it have more time to slow down. So I would have to really drag that out, give myself a lot more frames. I think I can, yeah, there we go. If I hold down Shift, there it is. I think it's this one. So as I watch these, it still speeds up quite a lot, but it takes a lot longer to slow down. That was only going to happen if I gave myself more space in here. If I gave myself more time than what the other one has. In this amount of time, not enough. There's not enough time to do any of that. Not without it spinning so far out of control, it looks ridiculous. And even then, it wouldn't be spinning for very long before I had to start slowing down again. That's the other thing I have to consider. All right, so keep in mind that all these things are related. Length of time, amount of movement, and then the eases, the tangents, they're all going to affect everything. And it's a work in progress. Your whole time it's a work in progress. So don't expect it to simply get to where it's going right away.